Frosted Flakes! Woo!
Oh, hey there. How's it going? Oh, this?
You see him? Where?
Dora messed up her lines, so she was supposed to say, when did I ask, but this is why I'm here, so let's replay that.
When did I ask?
Get on my level, Matt.
My bling. I got it from some old guy at a card shop. I think it'll be okay, though. How's it going, YouTube? My name's
Frosted Flakes! Woo!
and this is my very first video. I'm super excited to be able to share this with you. I'm really passionate about anime and comic books and a lot of other geeky things. And so I want to make a video on what kind of jump-started my interest in anime and my first reactions of Yu-Gi-Oh! And things like that. So Yu-Gi-Oh! It's what I'm passionate about. I grew up with it. It's always been there and it continues to go on. So it's fun to see it move on with time and to be a part of it. And I want to share it, my passions, and share with all of you why it's a big part of me. It's great to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Get a big revival as well. A lot of YouTubers like PewDiePie and
Hello
Voice
there.
Critical have shared their experiences with it, and so it was fun to see them bring it up again. For me, growing up, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of the very first animes I experienced in the United States. This was early 2000s, and of course there were other animes as well, like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the one that's really stuck with me throughout the years, and Dragon Ball Z later on, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the main one. I grew up watching a lot of comic book cartoons like Static Shock, Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was something new and exciting, something I hadn't experienced before. So it's fun to go back and revisit this. I wanted to make a quick top 10 list of some of the most iconic cards just from the first season. I know that there's a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards out there, and a lot of the more die-hard invested fans may not see a card that they think should be on this list. I just tried to include everything that I thought average viewers or people that just watched a few episodes would be able to recognize and be like, hey, I remember that card. So that's the idea behind this. I do have plans to go more in depth with the series and monsters and make more lists. So I promise that you will see your monsters or your favorite cards on a list eventually, or mentioned. This is just a quick introduction, if you will. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! It started off as a manga series which was shown in Shonen Jump between September of 1996 and March of 2004. The creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Kazuki Takahashi, and it would later become animated, and the animation would be produced by Toho Animation, then later produced by NOS and animated by Studio Gallop, and would be renamed Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. This is the one that I'm most familiar with, and I'm assuming most people in the United States that had seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Are familiar with, because it was dubbed, by 4Kids and shown on Kids WB. The overall gist of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters is that we follow Yugi Moto and his group of friends going on their various adventures while trying to defeat an ancient evil that comes from these items called Millennium items. These items come from Egypt, and Yugi happens to come across one, and its power helps him to defeat this other evil that's coming from these other items. There's actually a ancient pharaoh that's inhabited one of the items, and so he's the one that helps Yugi and his friends. But there's a lot more detail that goes in the show that I can include, but this is the Cliff Notes version. Like I said, I do plan on doing more videos in the future though. Alright, now moving on to the most iconic cards from the first season. So, starting with number 10, I wanted to include Great Moth. Now, Great Moth was used by Weevil Underwood in the series, and Weevil is like one of those characters that just become more of an annoyance for Yugi and his friends, but he was pretty recognizable in the first season, and the Great Moth was kind of like his go-to ultimate monster for that first season. He makes later appearances in the series, and recently even insect cards have gotten support, so it's kind of fun to see them getting some love. But Great Moth, I felt, would be one that is good to include that a lot of people could recognize from the original series. I have a copy somewhere, I don't know where it is, so we're just going to pretend I have one right here. Moving on to number 9, I decided to go with Harpy Lady. So Harpy Lady was used by My Valentine. I know, creative name, but this was Americans naming Japanese characters, so they went with My Valentine. My Valentine, her whole thing was having her cards revolving around these harpy monsters, and I remember seeing these all over the place when I was a kid, so this was a pretty common one, and I think it would be one that some people could recognize from the show if they watched a few more episodes in. In the show, she had different versions, so you could see like Harpy Lady number 1, Harpy Lady number 2 and 3. So these were kind of like her monsters that she went with. In spot number 8, I had to include Toon World. So I know technically this isn't a monster, but it is a card. And the main antagonist for season 1, Pegasus, used this card, and it was kind of fun because he took all of the main characters' monsters and turned them into cartoon versions. So I just had to include it. This was one that, you know, everyone who watched the show was like, oh yeah, Pegasus, the guy who had a creepy obsession, I think a little bit too much with Yuki, and then later moved on to Kaiba. This was his like card, so I wanted to include it because it's fun, and they still fun to see when people actually try to use tunes in the actual trading card game. They've gotten some new support, and so they've gotten some love, and it's just a fun card. With spot number 8, I had to go with Flame Swordsman. Now, Flame Swordsman, he deserves this spot because before Joey Wheeler, who is one of Yugi's friends in the show, was using his legendary Red Eyes Black Dragon, he would always pull out this boy right here, Flame Swordsman. Flame Swordsman makes multiple appearances throughout the series, and when I was a kid, I saw him on everything Yu-Gi-Oh merchandise. I don't know what it was with Flame Swordsman, but I think he was just like a popular, people liked how he looked, or maybe it was his giant sword.
What? What the fuck?
Flame Swordsman was the guy, so he got to give spot number 7 to Flame Swordsman. With spot number 6, now this was a tough one, but I had to give it to Summon Skull. Now, personally, I like Summon Skull, I think, a little bit more than Dark Magician, just because when it comes to summoning him out into the field and other things, he is one of Yugi's monsters that he uses. He makes a lot of appearances in the show as well, and he also gets combined to make new monsters with Joey's monsters. So Summon Skull is a pretty good one, and he was also on a lot of merchandise as well. I actually have a poster hanging up with Summon Skull on it. He's one that I feel a lot of people can recognize from the show as well. Going on to the 5th spot, Kuribo has to snag it. Now, Kuribo is an interesting one because, of course, he's another one of Yugi's monsters, and I tried to be fair and give other characters opportunities as well to have their monsters shown in this list, but with it being Yugi as the main character, of course, some of his monsters are going to take up the list. But Kuribo's a fun one because I feel like he's the one where my parents would see it and be like, what the heck is that thing? It's just a big ball of fur, and I think maybe some other people's parents had similar experiences with this guy. He gets used like every episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Almost. I guess if you want to use him every episode, you can, but there's multiple different versions that come out over the years of him as well, or kind of support him. So you have like this like machine one, and then like a spear mode one that's a pirate. What the heck? Get those out of there. Oh, what the? I have 4 of them? Oh. Anyway, you can never have too many Kuribos is the moral of the story. Alright, So, number 4. It pains me to do this, but I have to put Red Eyes Black Dragon in spot number 4. Only for the reason that I feel there are some more iconic, more recognizable monsters, but Red Eyes Black Dragon is one of Joey's ace monsters that appears a lot in the show. Joey uses them almost every duel, so had to give it to Red Eyes Black Dragon. I mean, it's just cool. What more can you want? You just have a cool black dragon. It's just super cool. He may not be number 1 on this list, but he'll always be number 1 in my heart. Hopefully my wife didn't hear that, but it's okay. Anyway, alright, going on to spot number 3. Now, this might be a little bit controversial for some people, but I had to give it to Dark Magician. Wow. Now, yes, Dark Magician is pretty recognizable, and most people recognize this guy as Yugi's like number 1 monster. He's always being used by Yugi, but I think just for season 1 at least, there are 2 other monsters that are a little bit more iconic than Dark Magician. But Dark Magician had to be on this list somewhere. I just had to put him in the 3rd spot, but yes, Dark Magician is here, and he appears a lot in the series in each season, but Dark Magician number 3. All right, for number 2, we had to give it to Exodia. Now, Exodia is a fun one because he was in one of the very first episodes of YuGiOh, and when Yugi dueled Kaiba and his blue eyes. And so when I was a kid, this was like the holy grail, It was like if you're an archaeologist, you have all 5 pieces of Exodia, you literally have the Ark of the Covenant in your hands. So, I mean, Exodia also spawned like a bazillion memes. He's really funny, So Exodia has an important part in Yu-Gi-Oh! And also like the pop culture and everything online. So I had to give the 2nd spot to Exodia. Now you're probably wondering what the number 1 spot is. And that goes to Blue Eyes White Dragon. I had to give Blue Eyes White Dragon the number 1 spot because everyone knows Seto Kaiba and his blue eyes is how he tore one. He tore Yugi's grandpa's blue eyes just because he could. Kaiba's one of the funniest characters in my opinion in Yu-Gi-Oh! He's a super funny character, so I had to give the number 1 spot to Blue Eyes White Dragon. Blue Eyes White Dragon has always been used in the trading card game. I don't think there was ever really a time he went out of style, and he's gotten a lot of support recently for the trading card game as well. So a lot of people like Blue Eyes White Dragon, and so I just had to give it to, the legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. And even the card, like the little flavor text here, says this legendary dragon is a powerful engine of destruction, virtually invincible. Very few has faced this awesome creature and lived to tell the tale. So I guess this guy contains unmeasurable power, and if you just look at one, you could possibly die. So I should probably put this down because it's pretty dangerous. I wanted to include a story. Blue Eyes White Dragon is one of the most memorable cards as well, because even when I went to Best Buy the other day, buying some more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff meant for kids, and I'm a 26-year-old. Anyway, the cashier was even like, hey, I had a Blue Eyes when I was a kid. Is it worth anything today? And there's actually like Blue Eyes cards that are like $10,000 or something crazy like that. So, but I said, I don't know, probably. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment on things you liked or you want to see more of. This is my very first video, and I have some big ideas for some upcoming videos. But once again, thanks again for watching. Hope you had a fun time at least. And until next time, keep dueling.